Have you ever used one of those online calculators to try and figure out what an extension will cost or what size of extension you can afford to build? I wanted to know whether the figures you get are accurate or a complete waste of time, so I decided to find out. How do you calculate what an extension will cost so you know whether you've got enough money to build the size of extension you need? I'm going to show you how to do that. But first of all, if you've ever used an online calculator to try and figure out what your extension will cost, how do you know if the figures you've got back are accurate? I wanted to know whether any of these cost calculators actually work or whether they're just a marketing gimmick. So I tested the top 6 home extension calculators according to Google, and compared the results for a typical home extension in the UK. And I wanted to know, do they work? Are they accurate? And is there any way of checking that for yourself? And these are the figures we got. As you can see, these are really varied, ranging from £29,000 to over £89,000. These are all based on the same 25 square metre single-storey kitchen extension in the north of England. If you want to know the full extension specs, so you know exactly what these prices are based on, I've listed them in the description down below the video. Over the past 5 years, we have been through Brexit and COVID, as well as 3 or is it 4 prime ministers, plus a huge budget upheaval. And all of these things have caused an increase in the cost of building work. So over that time, the cost of building an extension has gone up by around 40 to 50%. And if any of these cost calculators haven't been updated, then the figures you'll get will be massively wrong. Now, 2 of these figures can be chucked out straight away because they are completely useless. In spite of me searching for home extension cost calculator, mybuilder.com doesn't actually have a cost calculator on their page. There's just a table with some very rough figures and some very out-of-date information. So we can bin that one straight away because it is a complete waste of time. The other one you can ignore is Rightmove, which does have a calculator, but it is so basic, it's not going to help you figure out what your extension will cost. It just asks for your postcode, and then you choose small, medium or large and press go. That's it. And the results that you get only give an estimate of the labour cost, not the materials, so it is far too basic to be useful. So let's bin that one as well. The home building and renovating calculator was very thorough and did ask lots of questions, but it didn't give an instant result, and I am still waiting for the email with that cost figure. So either the emails got lost in my spam folder or this calculator doesn't work. Now the 3 that are left all gave very similar figures, ranging from 83 to 89,000. Which I did not expect, if I'm being honest. I fully expected these calculators to be way more varied. But these 3 are pretty consistent, which is encouraging. So if you take them together, they're giving us a ballpark figure of £86,000. The question is that figure accurate? Is 86,000 even close to a realistic cost for this project? And how do we go about checking that? Because it is really important to know whether this is an accurate figure before spending thousands of pounds on an architect and surveys and planning permission. So here's how you do it. To check whether this figure is accurate, or any figure that you've got, you need to ask, what's the average cost per square metre to build an extension where you live? Now the reason you've got to ask this question is because in the UK, the cost of building exactly the same extension varies massively depending on where you live. And it relates pretty closely to house price value. Now, house price value varies from around £1,400 per square metre in the northeast of England to over £10,000 per square metre in West London, which gives you some idea of the range of costs that we're talking about here. So, wherever you live, how do you work out the average cost per square metre to build an extension? Well, that's actually pretty simple. You just need to ask 3 different groups of people that question. The first group are your friends, neighbours, colleagues who live nearby and who've built an extension similar to what you're planning in the last couple of years. You want to know what it cost them and how big it is. Then you can calculate the cost per square metre. The second group are builders. So rather than asking a builder to give you an estimate, which they often don't want to do, just call up 2 or 3 builders and describe what you're planning briefly, and then ask their opinion on the average cost per square metre to build that extension. The third group are architects and designers. So again, just call them up and ask the question, what's the average cost per square metre to build an extension in your area? What you'll then do is take all of those figures and average them to come up with a guide or a range for how much your extension will cost. So the more figures you collect, the more accurate your estimate will be. This is the simplest way of checking those cost calculator figures and of working out what you can afford to build right at the start of your project. So when you then pay an architect to draw plans for your extension, you can give them a really clear instruction about the size and the cost. And you're not relying on a cost calculator or your architect to tell you what you can afford to build. If you'd like a free copy of this cost calculator method, as well as 4 other things that you really need to know before you extend your home, there is a link in my bio. So click on that link and download your free guide. My name's Francis, and if you want the latest reviews, guides, inspiration and advice for your home extension, then hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.